بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه بعد. As we've been talking about some of the etiquettes of interacting with people, and part of our social life, food. As a matter of fact, some people, their whole social life is food. You know, anytime you want, especially in Houston, Texas, if people want to have fun, they go to a restaurant. You know, it's number one entertainment kind of option for people in Houston. And but reality is, food is a very important element in our social life, unfortunately. And people get to eat together in congregation, people have food. So we talk about the etiquettes of treating people. Now when you eating, this hadith has to do with one of the etiquettes in relation to eating. And the hadith sounds a little bit strange to those who don't understand what this hadith means. So the hadith ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu is one of the most authentic narration that you can ever have, reported by al-Bukhari and Muslim, both agreed upon that it is authentic. That Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, إِذَا أَكَلَ أَحَدُكُمْ طَعَامًا. If one of you eats food, فَلَا يَمْسَحْ يَدَهُ. Don't wipe your hand. حَتَّى يَلْعَقَهَا. Until you lick it, or you يُلْعِقُهَا. يعني let it be licked. Let it be licked. And I will tell you what that means. This hadith ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu wa arda, been reported the same concept with others. Ata rahimahullah ta'ala reported Jabir radiallahu anhu narrated the same hadith before Ibn Abbas. كان جابر يحدث بالحديث قبل Ibn Abbas. Jabir ibn Abdullah used to narrate the hadith before even Ibn Abbas knew of it, or before it was heard from Ibn Abbas. Why Ata choose the narration of Ibn Abbas? Okay, choose the narration of Jabir radiallahu anhu over the narration of Ibn Abbas. Ata used to narrate the hadith of Jabir and favor it over the narration of Ibn Abbas. Why? Because of the following. Jabir radiallahu anhu said that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إذا وقعت اللقمة من أحدكم فليأخذها فليمط ما كان بها من أذى وليأكلها. If you have something in your hand and fall down, pick it up, clean it, and eat it. Clean it, then eat it. ولا يتركها للشيطان. Don't leave it for the shaitan. Okay? ولا يمسح يده بالمنديل حتى يلعق أصابعه. And don't wipe your hands until you lick your fingers. So the hands here were specifically fingers. فإنه لا يدري في أي طعامه البركة. You don't know what is the blessing of the food. Which part of your food is the blessing. Maybe it's that little things that left in your hand. Okay, that's the blessing in it. Reported by Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala. Ka'b ibn Malik said, I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam يأكل بثلاثة أصابع. He used to eat with 3 fingers. The Prophet used to eat with 3 fingers. And when he finished, he used to lick it. Question: how can you eat rice with 3 fingers? With 3 fingers, right? I'll tell you, if the rice is sushi, you can eat it with 3 fingers. Just take the rolls and eat it. That'll work. Okay, but 3 fingers. How the Prophet used to eat rice? The answer is, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never had rice in his life. He never ate rice. Because rice was not something known to the Arabs during the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Rice was only a food that known in Persia, in Iraq and Persia, not in Arabia. The Arab get to know about rice after they reach Iraq. And they used to feed it to their horses. They never ate rice, actually. They considered it a food for the horses. And they said they found the horses getting like strong, and that it was used a food for horses, not for man, for human. But later on, rice, because of the mix of the culture, became part of our basically staple food. Like, you know, it's the most important element in any dish or, you know, in any, in the Middle East in general. Anyway, but ثلاث أصابع يعني eats what? Dates, meat, tharid. You know, tharid is a type of bread that is well cooked with the sauce. You know, he picks something and he eats with it. That's what basically the hadith talk about. فإذا فرغ لعقها أو لعقها. When he finish, he will lick his fingers, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the hadith in Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, يلعق يده. He used to lick his hand. Nobody should understand the whole hand. It's the fingers, the tip of your fingers, okay? And some ulama said, no, it's the fingers and the hand if there is food in the hand as well. Like if your hand has some food, you basically lick. يلعقها, okay? اللعق هو اللحس باللسان أو بإصبع. اللعق, either you put your finger in your tongue and you lick it, or you go and you lick it with your mouth, okay? لعقات ولعقات ولعقاء. That's why we call in Arabic, anybody can figure out, there is a word, huh? Mil'aqah. Why we call spoon mil'aqah in Arabic language? Because you lick it when you eat. So it comes from the verb licking in Arabic. That's why the mil'aqah, the spoon, we call it mil'aqah, because when you put it, you actually lick it with your tongue when you eat. طيب. So, why the Prophet ﷺ said, why he said you lick it? This is one of the things that if you don't understand history, you don't understand culture, and in other words, if you look to historical thing or event or incident or information, from where you stand today, you see it completely in a different lens. Then you go back and you look forward. When you go back and you live at that time. Now when you look at it, so wow, that's disgusting. You lick your fingers and, you know, it's not something very pleasant, not a very hygiene. You will see that. Why he doesn't just wash his hand? That's right. That would be the normal question. But the reality is, there is no washing hand at that time. At that time, there is no water. It takes you miles and miles and miles to go to get some water. There is no access to water. Barely the water that exists inside the house is for you to consume, to drink, and for your animal to drink, okay? And for you to take a shower or to make wudu with it. It's not something that they are in the habit of having excessive amount of water that they can go wash their hand. So what was the culture at that time that the Prophet ﷺ found people doing? That people eat, and after they eat, they just do like this, and they start shaking their hands, you know, walking. So their hands will be filled with what? Sauce, food, and it will stick on people. It was not actually a very hygiene or a very nice way. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ordered them not to leave that food on their hands and to clean it, and يلعقها, طيب, to be licked by who? يعني I finish food, then I put one finger for Umar and the other finger for Yusuf. Come on, lick my hand. يلعقها, يعني you be licked by who? The ulama rahimahullah said, by an animal. Let's say you have a sheep, cat, you know, you just let it lick it and eat it. So it will not be wasted, the food. So whatever, like the left, a little bit left, you can give it to the animals so they can eat it, okay? Some said it could be his wife, or if this is something that they do it as a form of love or thing, maybe, I don't know. Or the husband for the wife, as a form of just showing love, being kind of compassionate, loving action. But many of the ulama said it meant for the animals to lick it. And by the way, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam lived with pets. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was seen once drinking, and he saw the cat in the house. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam took the water where he was making wudu and drinking from it. He took the water and he put it down to the cat to drink from it. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He didn't feel disgusted by that. He cared because the cat was very thirsty. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. I don't believe that yul'iquha need to be licked, like some people said, by his servant or his wife or her husband or sons or any. That's unacceptable. This is not imaginable, but it is something that you would think the Prophet say. What do we learn from this hadith? Number one, that it is sunnah when you finish your food, if there is remaining food in your hands, that you lick it and you eat it. And also in some of the ahadith that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam talked about as-safha, the plate. But it doesn't mean you lick the plate. It means that you lick the hands and you collect what's on the plate with your hands and you eat it. But you don't leave food. Okay? I have problems sometimes with people that what they do, they leave a lot of food and be wasted. Okay? Or they take things and they purposely overserve themselves, then the food will be wasted. So if the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling them not to leave anything in the plate and whatever basically you have in your plate and left in even your hand, you will eat it. Why? And ulama said for many reasons. Number one, for the barakah, the blessing of the food. There is a blessing in the food. Which part of the food, we don't know. Maybe there is one part of it will be the most blessing in it. And blessing means have the most positive impact on your body. And Nawawi rahimahullah said also to clean your hand. Okay? And he said, and you eat, from this hadith we learned that you eat with 3 fingers. So Umar, if you pick a date, how you pick a date? With 3 fingers, these 3. Olive, you do. A piece of meat. You don't do like this. Have you seen people eat like this? Like they take put it like this. Yeah. Rice, you need your whole hand. Macaroni, you need your hand. Soup, you need your hand. That's that hot. I'm talking about time where there's no spoon. Remember, we're not talking about this luxury life that you live today. There's no cups, there's no spoons, there's no thing of that nature. Or if it exists, it's very rare to be exhausted. So that's why the ulama said you eat with 3, unless the type of food that you eat cannot be handled by 3 fingers. And the ulama rahimahullah said it is recommended. Okay? By the way, Ibn Hazm said it's wajib, it's must. You must actually eat with you eat with 3 fingers and you lick your fingers. But that's not a famous opinion at all. The majority, rahimahullah, said it is just it's recommended for you to do that because it's so you clean your hand. You don't leave it with the food. There is any format how you lick your fingers. Okay. There is a hadith. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was eating with 3 fingers. Which 3 fingers? Bil ibham, the thumb, then the one next to it, then the one next to it, to the middle finger. So these are the 3 that he used to eat with it. Not these 3 he used to eat with them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And how he used to basically lick it. Some ulama said that based on this hadith Ka'b ibn Ujra and al-Tabarani, okay, that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he started with this, with the middle finger. He licked it, then the one next to it, the index, then the thumb. So you start with the tallest one to the shortest one. They said why? Because the tallest one, most likely the one who has most of that food. Anyway. there is another point from the hadith that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, you don't know what is the blessing in your food. So that's a reason, an illah, behind why we should do that. And that's illah, that reason was mentioned by the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Always, al-ilal, the reasoning behind the legislation, some of them are mansus alayh, some of them are mentioned explicitly by the Prophet sallallahu, and some of them something you can figure out. You think about it. So what the Prophet said is seeking the blessing. You know where is the blessing in the food. Okay? And I have seen this. Wallahi, sometimes you eat and you never get satisfied. And sometimes you eat a little bit and you, mashallah, full. Even though you're hungry and you didn't eat. But you will see that Allah put barakah in some food that it has become so blessed. So you don't know where is the blessing in that food. The other reasoning, which is not mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ, but it could be figured out, غير منصوص عليها, علة غير منصوصة. Like what Nawawi said, it to be for hygiene reason. So your hand will not stay sticky and your hand will not keep and stay what? Have food in it when you shake hands with people or when you touch something. Also, another reasoning, al-ulama rahimahullah said, it shows appreciation, that you're not wasting food. Yani even you show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you don't waste even so little, like what? Like this, the rice that's stuck in your fingers. Okay? Also, al-ulama rahimahumullah said, like al-Qadi Iyad, he said this hadith is meant to teach you, you don't ever belittling any food. هذا حديث يعلمك عدم التهاون بأي شيء من الأكل. Do belittling thing. Don't say, this is. You always show respect to the food and you eat it. Also, one of the things that ulama rahimahullah said as a reasoning behind it, because if you don't clean it, and you don't have water, obviously, okay, and you don't, what will happen? If you touch anything, you touch your clothes, you'll make your clothes dirty. You touch something like bed, you'll make your bed dirty, and so on. قالوا إن هذا في زيادة تلويث. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his time, people used to wipe their hands and they don't wash it. They used to wipe their hands in napkin or not napkin, either one in a cloth or their clothes or their turban, the turban that you put in their heads. They used to wash their hands in it or clean their hands, wipe their hands in it. But they never used to wash their hands. That's the custom at that time because of the lack of water. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them that you should lick it before you wipe it in your clothes. Why? Because if you lick it, you take what? The sauce, the food out. So when you wipe it, you only wipe your own what? Saliva. So nobody can say, oh, I understand this hadith, I lick my finger and then I shake your hands. Yeah. No, that's not the process. Because it's already known that they wipe it in something, of their cloth or something like that. But then Nabi wanted to say, before you wipe it, make sure that you lick your finger first. So this is actually make you more clean. But what if I can wash it? Do I need to lick it? No. If there is no food, there is no need to eat the food. It's just the sauce or the stain of it. You don't need to lick it. You just wash your hand on the wipes, or because the point was fulfill, which is to make sure that your hand's clean and you don't make other places dirty or other things dirty. Today, we have a good habit or good things happen to us in modern technology today. It's called refrigerator. The fridge that you have. The fridge where you can save the food. If Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying don't waste just a bite that fall on the floor. You don't waste it. You pick it up, you clean it, and you eat it. The thing that left in the plate, you don't throw it away. The thing stick in your finger like a piece of rice or like, grains of rice, you eat it. You don't just throw it away. If this is the case, what about the waste that we see today in the food? It became a good habit that people today in the restaurant, they said, can I take box to go? Okay? But to go, it means to go where? Not to your house trash, because that's sometimes what happens, to go to the trash in your home. You know, to go, it means something that you will eat it. And I think that's a good culture today, that people start taking the list of the food for to go. And Nabi Sallallahu said, you don't know what is the barakah is. Do you guys agree with me that we have way more food than before? That's right. But we have way less barakah in our food than before. Our food today is nothing but disease, astaghfirullah. Wallahi, I met old men. They will eat things that you wouldn't imagine. Sugar stuff and like fat in it and stuff. But so healthy. And so strong. And built and in a good shape. Today, we eat so much and we have so much variety, but there is no barakah. And could be one of the reasons that there is no barakah because of the amount of waste. And we don't appreciate the food that we have. And that's something wrong. Today, most of our disease comes from our food. We are a very we waste so much as a nation. Do you guys know that there is in any given day during the year, today we had 795 million people hungry in the world. In any given day during the year, there is estimated 795 million people hungry. They go to bed hungry. They wake up in the morning hungry. Lunch come times they are hungry during the daytime. It is shocking that many of us threw away food on a daily basis that can in fact help to stop the hunger in the world. According to the USDA, 40% of our food worth an estimated $161 billion. Okay? 40% of our food, which is worth $161 billion, was never harvested, lost in processing, thrown away in restaurants and homes, ended up in rotting in American landfills. 40% of our food in the United States, which is worth about $161 billion every year, can you imagine that? Get wasted. According to the Natural Resources Defense Council, 2012 and 2017 reports, okay, it says 50% of our product, what we produce in America, is never consumed. 50% of what we cook, we grow, we harvest, 50% never was consumed. And in more recent report has suggested that 126 billion pounds of wasted food annually. Allahu Akbar. 162 billion pounds of food annually wasted in the United States of America. That's considered about $218 billion wasted. Put it in another way. Food losses in America exceeds 1/3, the food losses in America exceed 1/3 of our defense budget. And instead of Trump, okay, telling us you want to rebuild whatever, which one just simple legislation or one change we can do in controlling the waste of food, that's 1/3 of our defense budget. Enough to feed the waste of the United States. enough to feed 28 million persons every year. Globally, so that's us as American. Globally, we throw out about 1.3 billion tons of food every year. And you tell me why there is no barakah and blessings? Why the food is so, instead of being beneficial, thing being harmful. 1.3 billion tons of food wasted every year. Or a third of all the food that we grow is wasted worldwide. The annual value of food wasted globally is $1 trillion. $1 trillion. 25% of the world's freshwater supply is used to grow food that is never eaten. 25% of the fresh water of the world, which is used to grow basically food, is wasted. 2.3 billion people are joining this planet, Earth, by 2050. This will require a 60 to 70% increase in global food production. Or we can just stop throwing away our food. I'm saying this because you believe it or not, you and me, part of the problem. And I will point out our brothers and sisters who run businesses and restaurants. They have another responsibility. Our masajid have another responsibility. Our gathering, social gathering, have another responsibility. That's a serious issue. And it should be a concern. If these numbers, I don't just waste my time looking and researching for them and making sure they get it from a reliable source, the latest numbers, just to show off. No, because I know this message will be heard by people. This is something that I remember in England. I met with a group of business owners, restaurant owners, and they're a Muslim group. And actually they talked to me about, they came and they put together some ideas about how they control waste food. It should be erased. Like, for example, Brother Muhammad, with his colleagues in his area in restaurant, for example, he said, and he should email to their headquarters, we have to come up with the plan. How can we reduce waste? I love for the fact, for example, they used to give everybody when you come this big, huge, coffee pot that it takes you a whole day to finish it. And it will be thrown away. Now you only take it. Many restaurants today, they don't give you just ketchup until you ask. So there's no waste. Water, they use by default, if you notice in restaurants, by default they used to give you water. Now they don't unless you ask. These little things makes a great impact. So we have to start thinking about policies and ways to fight. We don't need to wait for the government to legislate that. I think us as citizens, as business owners, as masajid, as civil society, we should care about this because at the end of the day it hurts us. We're wasting our resources. The future of this planet is in danger. Is licking the fingers disgusting? Ibn Hajar rahimahullah asked this question. قال هذا مستقذر? Is it disgusting act? Ibn Hajar rahimahullah said, it's disgusting. If you lick it, then you put it back in the plate where people eat with you. But if you notice, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, when you finish completely. It's disgusting if you lick it, then you shake somebody else's hand. But if you lick it, after that you wipe your hands actually and your finger with what? With cloth or something like they used to do. So there is no really a disgusting, it's not a disgusting thing. Also, it doesn't mean that you put it in front of people. And you're like in front of everybody. No. And some people think of the worst of it. You know, you might do it like in a way where you cover yourself. Basically, you care because something in Sharia talk about caring about other people's feelings. طيب. Also, al-Khattabi rahimahullah said, there is people أفسدت طرف عقولهم. Ya salam. There is people, their way of thinking is corrupted because the level of spoiling, the spoiled lifestyle that they have, which is we all share. We are very spoiled. By the way, wallahi, it's not long time ago, my own father, he told me about how one day he could not find anything to eat. And he was at that time in the college. Anything to eat. Or maybe in high school, going to college. He said, I remember that I found an old tomato next to the trash. I took it, I cleaned it, and I ate it. And that was the only food I had. He told us this story one day when he found us cooking food in our home. I remember that. And we had like many different type of foods. And he said, you need to know, this is not 10 generations ago. This is Yusuf's grandfather. Not long time ago, people don't find and don't think we are far away from this. We can in any time reach that level. The only thing is, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees us, we show respect to the food or not, to the blessing. Because food is the most clear form of blessings that Allah giving us. Here we say that the reasoning behind licking the hand is not to leave food. So if there is no food in your hand, there's no need for you to lick it. The other reasoning will be to be clean. If you have another way to clean your hand, you can clean it. Type. Because so you can clean it with any form or any methods. Today, if licking the food from your fingers, something unacceptable culturally, or something that is considered inappropriate to do in public, okay? Or it can cause more harm and more damage. Turn people away. What kind of religion is that? Okay? Especially, we don't use hand much these days. We use what? Spoons. If you eat in Chinese food, chopsticks, forks, stuff like that. So, in this case, there's no need for doing that. Also, from this hadith, we know that the Sahaba used to wipe their hands after they lick it, so to clean their hand. So, in another word, al-ulama rahimahullah said, when we learn from this hadith, that after you finish your eating, clean yourself. And that will include rinsing your mouth, washing your hands, okay? And al-ulama rahimahullah said, like al-Qadi Iyad said, you only need to do that if in your hand, if you've been eating something not dry food. Dry food, maybe there is no need for it. You pick a candy or something. But if you come something sticky, has sugar in it, or like sauce, in this case, you need to wash your hand. طيب. This hadith teaches us we should care for the food and to respect it and preserve it, even if it's so little. As grains of rice or a little bit of meat on your hand. So if you've been ordered to care for the little, how about that? The great amount of food that you just go to the trash. Also, this hadith shows you that giving your fingers or sharing the food that you left over with the animals shows that the Nabi care about animals and pets. I know some pets owners, they don't like what I say because they don't feed their cats like house food, because otherwise it's going to be like a stinky house because of that. But it doesn't need, maybe chicken, maybe your, don't put your finger to the chicken, but maybe your rabbits, left over from salad, stuff like that. The point is, it shows that the Nabi cared, and also shows you sense of humility from him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ordered them to lick the fingers, and in one of the narration, Jabir, he said, and the al-qas'a, the plate, he doesn't mean to lick it with the tongue. Make sure if you ever come across this hadith, you understand. No. There is another narration where the Nabi says, قال أمرهم بسلت القصعة. السلت يعني المسح, that with your hand you take whatever left in the plate. طيب. Ordering you to lick the 3 fingers, if you use 3 fingers. If you use more than 3 fingers, you lick the rest of them. Is it true that there is a health benefit from licking fingers? Is there any health benefit from licking your fingers after you finish food? Some people actually suggested that. They said our fingertips have nerve endings, so when we handle food with them, what happened? When you handle food with your finger, and your fingers basically had nerves ended in your tip of your fingers. When you handle the food, that will send signal to the brain. So the brain will understand that there is what? Food, beside the smell, beside the see. So when the brain understands there is the food, what will happen? There's enzyme starts coming in your stomach and your saliva. So actually it tells you to consume the food faster, okay? Some said, okay, when you lick it, you stimulate it more. Some people even said when you lick it, it stimulates more, and that will help. I don't find any reliable source to back this up scientifically. Okay, I couldn't find any reliable source to vouch for this scientifically. And I spent quite time looking for it, asking as well. But what I found, that our hand, okay, carries a lot of bacteria, especially our fingers and our hand, carries so much, or known as normal flora, found in palm and fingers of the hand, okay, this type of bacteria. And it's not harmful to humans. It is in fact protects us from many damaging microbes in the environment. When you eat with your hands, the flora in the fingers is swallowed, and it is beneficial for the digestive system that you have. That's another thing some people said in regard to eating with hands and the benefits of it versus eating with spoon. Okay? Spoons, no matter what, is never going to be clean like your finger for a simple reason. Your finger, Allah created in them, okay, bacteria that it will keep your finger healthy, while spoons will always have these bacteria. If you clean it, yes, but it can be harmful. It can carry, viruses and stuff like that. There is an increased ability of the host of nourish itself, since the bacteria produce vitamins, okay, that the human body is infected to give forth, like vitamin B12 and vitamin K. So there's a lot of talk, and that's a lot of scientific websites talk about eating with hands and what can be, there is some benefit from it. And you can research it easily, and you find plenty of research in regard to this. One thing I want to mention in regard to this hadith, one of the practices that I see a lot of Muslims do these days, that they believe you must eat every leftover. And for them, it's a sin to let it go. So they believe you must eat the leftover. So I ate, for example, the plate, and there is a little bit of rice left. Okay? No, eat it. You have to eat it. And they believe religiously that you have to eat it. Saying you have to, and it's wajib, and it's haram to leave it, you need proof for that. And there's no proof for that. Nabi Sallallahu never ever told anyone that. Nabi Sallallahu recommended that you lick the finger, the little bit left. But Nabi Sallallahu didn't say, if you have half of your plate left, you know what? You shovel down through your throat. No, nothing like that. There is nothing from the Sunnah of the Prophet ever said that it is must. Okay? So the Sunnah said, you lick your finger, not to eat the rest of the food. يعني أمر بلعق الأصابع لا بأكل الباقي. Okay? Yes, we should learn not to overserve ourselves. Not because it's a free buffet, you overserve yourself. Not because, you don't overserve yourself. It's better to take less than you do more. Yani for instance, don't put too much cereal in the morning. Take a little bit, you finish, take another cereal. It's okay to refill the bowl. But don't take too much and waste. And we say, ordering someone to eat the leftover actually goes against the Sharia. Why? Because as Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, it's makruh, and Ibn Taymiyyah said haram, to overeat. قال لأنه مضر, because you harm yourself. And I noticed that some people, oh my God, they force you to eat. And they force you to eat, and they force you to eat. And الحسن البصري كان يقول إن المروءة أن تقوم قبل الشبع. One of the nobility is to leave food before you become completely full. يعني this habit of you overfeed, خلاص, you became like, you can't even breathe. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said what? 1/3 for food and 1/3 for what? For water, 1/3 for air. That guy was in the food with us, and he said, "Ya Habibi, 1/3 for the food." He said, "Yeah, my third is not like yours." I said, "Okay." His third is bigger. You know what they say about Americans versus Europeans when it comes to desserts. Europeans, they leave a space for dessert. We make a space for the dessert. Like when it comes to food. We make a space for it, especially Texas side. So overeating, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, okay, is not right. حتى بعض السلف said, I would rather to give the leftover to the dog than to eat it. And I will give it throw it to a dog, but I will not eat it. طيب, Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen once was asked, the leftover, do I have to eat it? Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen said, if your stomach is trash, eat it. If your stomach is trash, eat it. Because I noticed that I go to restaurants sometimes, and you know what, I didn't even ask. They give me more than what I want. Khalas, I couldn't eat the whole thing. No, you have to eat it. And they feel obligated to do that. And also, sometimes what they do, they box it. You do not, because I travel a lot and I do a lot of work with youth and different culture, especially in certain culture. Oh my God, this leftover business is unbelievable. You don't know how many times I go to people's cars and stuff like that. It smells so bad because there is food left over. He took it to the restaurant, forgot about it in the car. You open the door of the refrigerator, you find boxes. So what he does, he just doesn't feel bad about it. He bring all these boxes, put in the fridge, and it end up in the trash anyway. Khalas, ya akhi, save the trouble. If you're not gonna eat it, if you know you're not gonna eat it, most likely you're gonna eat it, don't. Next time, be careful about how you order. يُلْعِقُهَا, let the animal lick it. Shows you that also one of the things that you can give this leftover to what? To animals. That's why some people like to grow, for example, chickens and rabbits and some of these like animals that they can eat all this left over. But also I would say something else. We can understand from this hadith another benefit. That the point is to make use of that leftover. So one of the things that you can use, you can take that food and transfer it to what? Fertilizer for your backyard or for your pot where you grow some mint or parsley or things at home, even in your apartment. So you can use it one more time. And it's a plenty. Just go online, Amazon or whatever, and search. There is plenty of equipment that you have it. It will compact the food and you produce it. After that, then I give you some interesting statistics about that. So food waste can be used for composting and sold to farmers. It can be provided as a food source for local animal farms that meet federal, state, or local regulations for food scrub usage. In this case, do I have anyone here, maybe the young man here, maybe, or anyone, or people here, willing to research, maybe Southern Abir, for us, if we have anything locally here in Houston, we can contact them, make a deal with them about Ramadan. We have a lot of food wasted in Ramadan. So we will have special containers. We'll put all the waste food in it, and we will see if we can give it to these basically companies, or find a way it is possible to be used. Okay? See what's the rules, what the regulations. Somebody look into that. I would really appreciate if somebody interested to search that online and find. You will be surprised how many resources are available for us. In Europe, for example, even in certain areas, every household, they have trashes, okay? One of them is a green one, for example. There's a blue, there's a red, there's those. So one of them only for waste food. So all the left scraps from the food goes to that trash. You cannot put any other thing in it. So we here have the plastic and papers. Over there, they have one specifically for the scraps of the food, the leftover to be put there. So that's a law. That's the law of many European countries that I've seen in Canada as well. Almost half of the food in the US goes to waste. Approximately 3,000 pounds per second. 3,000 pounds of food per second get to be wasted. Food scraps make up almost 12% of the municipal solid waste generated in the US. Schools, businesses, schools, one of the first in the top list in waste food in America. Schools and homes. Goes even, I was surprised, it goes above restaurants. Like average person home. So schools, restaurants, homes, starting to compose food waste on site. Even some dumpsters that you can have, and it will do that, offer that service to restaurants. Let's give you an interesting statistics. Every year, the average person in North America may waste around 230 pounds of food, okay? Which, if converted to energy, could power 100-watt light bulb for 2 weeks. If you extrapolate that for the entire US population, it represents a lot of energy that could be saved right there. let's take an example. A county of 10,000 people. County, 10,000 people live in one county. Waste 2.3 million pounds of food. If you take that 2.3 million pounds of food and you make energy out of them, you can power a desktop computer for 800 years. Another way to put it, a country of 6 million people waste 1.4 billion pounds of food. Following? Every year. That's enough to power 417 million washing machines for an hour. A country with a population of 319 millions could waste as much as 74 billion pounds of food every year. Just imagine the amount of waste that we do, which is saved, could result in tremendous energy saving that could be put to much better use. 5.5 billion electric heater for 1 hour, for example. 5.5 billion electric heater for an hour. If we save that amount of we transfer that food. I give you in Texas. The city of Austin, Texas, recently voted unanimously for the city ordinance that requires all large restaurants over 500 square feet to separate composable waste from other waste materials by 2016. Okay? Smaller restaurants are required to do so by 2017. The Home Composing Report program offered consumer $75 rebate on a home composing system after ending a free composing class. If you enter the class, they give you $75 as education. So that's what Austin did to educate the public about how can you deal with the leftover food, wasted food. Business in New York City have also heeded the call of a zero waste challenge. Restaurants in New York, they have a challenge for themselves, a zero waste challenge. Restaurants compose organic waste, trained chefs to improve meal planning, reduce the amount of food produced after peak period, and donated surplus food to an NGO to provide meal to the city's homeless shelters. The 31 businesses that participated in the challenge collectively diverted 37,000 tons of waste by increasing recycling effort. Just this small amount, 31 restaurants only in New York. Composing over 500,000 tons of organic materials and donating 322 tons of food. Can you imagine the impact of just this 13 or 31 restaurants came together? Additionally, in July 2016, the city mandated business organic waste program, where qualified businesses are required to separate their organic waste for composting. I mean, I know economically some business owner at home, who want to drag 3-4 different, trash cans and stuff like that. But believe me, it's worth it. I don't bring it now. It's not now on the top of my head, but city like Istanbul, I think if I'm mistaken, 20% or 25%, something like huge like that, maybe 50%, something like in that number, is energy is generated by recycling the food that is wasted in the city. Actually, Istanbul will consider one of the leading city in the world in this line of business. And that's one of the good things that the government there did. So I hope that when we read this hadith, talking about not to waste the food that is stick to our hand, we think about how we're going to do with the bigger picture. I hope that this will be a message for all of us to try to think about less waste. And how can we? Again, less waste doesn't mean to overfeed yourself. No, it's to be smart about how you deal with the extra food that you have, to deal with the way you serve the food, you cook the food. So I hope we'll have somebody in this crowd willing to look into research, or maybe a couple of you can research for us what options that we have. I love banana bread, for example, and I don't like to make an advertising for people. But banana bread, every day, you're not allowed to keep the same bakery every day. You have to get a fresh one. So you know what? After all they finish the day, all the product, all their bakery goes to be donated to shelters and to every single day. There is an app made by a friend in Saudi Arabia. Listen to this. This app, in Saudi Arabia, in major cities, if you have a wedding, you have a party, you have people, and you have leftover food, you put the address, you let them know, they come, they pick it up from your place, and they don't waste it. They repackage it if it can be. They put certain condition for you to put it clean, not touched, blah blah blah. They take it, they put it in a containers. It's cold or warm. Then they have contact with homes and people that they need the food. They go and they distribute at the same time. 100% free service, 100% volunteer service. And I looked at the feedback on that app, I was amazed. Homes, but not like your lunch, but home like a party. They have certain conditions. But that's a smart way. I think there is certain things we can do to change that. There is an organization I used to be an advisory board member. It's called Made in Europe. It's based in London. This organization, when I was part of the advisory board, not anymore, one of the things that I worked with them and I give them support was to lobby the UE, the European Union, okay, to make laws to force restaurants, owners to reduce waste. Give them incentives by reducing taxes. Give them tax breaks. Because it takes money to do that. Give them incentives or basically penalty or extra charge for waste management and so forth if they don't comply. So these are some things that we can do as a community and society. Also work with government to adopt laws that will help, because as you heard, it's a serious problem. If the United States wastes 50% of their food, go to trash and useless, that's scary. And that's, I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't really punish us for that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all of us and to make us appreciate and grateful and thankful to the blessings and the food that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us.